everybody. Welcome to the Rural Internet Town Hall with congressional candidates Mia Mason and Blair Walsingham. I'm Ian Ratner, your host for tonight, and I'd like to introduce our candidates, starting with Mia Mason. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
Well, folks, I'm Mia Mason. I'm a veteran, a friend, and an advocate. I've been in the Navy, the Army, the DC National Guard, and a little bit about myself is that I've enjoyed serving my country, and now I get to be able to serve my community. And that means that I get to be able to be a public representation of our community, which means I get to help folks directly, like you. So that's super important for us to do this together.
Thank you so much, Mia. Blair, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
Hey everyone, I'm Blair Walsingham. I'm running for U.S. Congress in Tennessee's 1st District. It's a very rural, very red district. And I'm a mother of 4, a homesteader, an Air Force veteran, and average hardworking American like everybody else out here. And I'm running because I am absolutely sick and tired of seeing my communities just crippled by poverty. Too many people going without basic needs such as electricity and running water, let alone good internet, a lack of substantial education or job opportunity. And I'd like to bring health freedom and financial security to everybody here in Tennessee.
Thank you so much, Blair. So we're going to start by giving a little bit of background on the issues that you both face in your districts with rural internet. I'll switch it up a little bit and start with Blair this time. Can you tell us a little bit, Blair, about the situation with internet in your district, why rural broadband is so important to you?
Absolutely. So like I said, I live in a very rural district, and anytime you're in these rural communities, some of them do have access to internet, though it is not of great quality. But if you move further out into the rural communities, they largely have no internet access or poor quality satellite internet. It's immensely important for people to have internet access. And we're not talking about just streaming Netflix or checking your social media. We're talking about telehealth, being able to access your health services from home, especially for our elderly our elderly communities and people who live an hour or two from hospitals. We had a lot of rural hospital closures out here. We're also talking about our children and young adults trying to finish their education, especially given COVID. And there's a lack of internet access that they just don't have online education as an option. But most importantly, it's a lack of job opportunity for people who cannot get online and do internet work. So a lot of the gig work or online jobs actually pay 20% higher starting out than any average Tennessee pay. So this is a really big discrepancy between what is available to the residents out here in our rural communities and what's actually out there that could be making their quality of life so much better if we simply had internet.
Thanks so much, Blair. Mia, add your perspective and anything else, any other lessons that you learned from talking to your constituents about rural broadband.
Well, when we actually go to them, they're still getting the newspaper. They're still, got the old Netflix, like login from a long time ago that uses AOL because they're on DSL, and they're like, what is a Hulu? What is an Amazon Prime? Like I'm used to going to the Dollar General, and if you're in the southern counties, it's Piggly Wiggly and everything else. But up here, most of everything is kind of closing down, or hopefully this Friday reopening, because our governor just gave us a great incentive to reopen. We're finally going to phase 3 because we're getting ahead of this pandemic. But most people around here still have DSL and dial-up. So what is a broadband co-op isn't really considered high-speed internet. It's still, modem connections. It's still, what you can afford, and it's megabytes per second. It's nothing gigabytes. It's, barely enough, like 10 megabytes, and that's not enough to do anything on. That's like continuous all-day office email, and you can't barely do anything with it. And like trying to load up a school page for our students and our teachers to do work, and now the governor has required them to have 3.5 hours of FaceTime with a web camera. You need at least 6 megabytes of bandwidth upstream and downstream to do that. And you have to find a hotspot to be able to get out there in our rural communities to do that. And the problem is like when you have everybody doing it all at the same time, the services tend to clog up and start to crash. And we've seen that happen time and time again during the midday times, even with folks using Zoom, like we are here this evening. And then it's like in the evenings is normally people getting online, watching movies or playing games. But if you're out in the rural communities, you might as well just kick back and light a bonfire, because that's the most important thing that's going to be important to you, having a beer, having a drink, and enjoying the community. But the best thing I can say is right now we still have to be able to wash your hands, wear a mask, stay safe. And like what Blair was saying, you know, like internet really isn't provided unless it's affordable and profitable for them. This is why we need to make sure that it's treated as a utility, and it has to be brought down by the federal level. And it can, you know, our state has approved in our community, in our district, 650 miles of broadband and fiber optics to get installed, but it's a day late, dollar short. It's coming in 2021 when the project starts and won't be finished until 2023 or 2025. We need to declare an emergency and get a federal grant and put that in now. So I think that would be super supportive of us to, you know, both of us to be in Congress right now to support us to get us there.
Fantastic, Mia. Thank you. Blair, anything you'd like to add on top of what Mia said?
I just think it's absolutely important for people to realize how connected all of these issues are. Mia's all the way up on the East Coast, up north, and I'm out here in middle nowhere, Tennessee, and our rural communities are facing the same struggles. We are literally all in this together, and we need to elect representatives who realize the big picture. And she made a really good point about the municipalities and making sure that this is happening now, not years down the road. It should have happened years before. Even Donald Trump signed a rural internet expansion bill, yet here we are and it's not happening. There wasn't accountability to make sure that the expansion was completed. So this is another key point to bring up, is accountability and transparency in what is actually happening with our tax dollars and the programs, and making sure people are getting what they're supposed to be getting.
Excellent, thank you. Well, I'm going to check in with Mia to see. I know you're monitoring the feeds. Has anybody jumped in with any questions at this point?
Well, we have Paven Luck who says, "Hi Blair," and I think that's Ian. So definitely a shout out to our attendees tonight. Let's see. We got Alyssa, we got Amelia, we got Devin, we got Maria, and we got Paven. So shout out to all of you. Thank you for joining and supporting us tonight. And all of y'all who are watching us on Facebook and Twitter, please make sure that you go to the link secure.act/blue, donate Blair and Mia to make a contribution tonight for the content that you are seeing right now.
And if I understand how that's set up correctly, that any donation made will be split evenly between Mia and Blair's campaign. Great, fantastic. Oh, looks like Marie just popped up with a question.
Yeah.
Mia, where is it DSL? I'm unfamiliar with that as a problem. I'm in Worcester County, and I know the southern part of the county is not good, but I didn't think it was DSL.
Yes, DSL is still a service provider. It is from the 90s and 2000s, but it's still available, and it is a little bit faster than HughesNet, which is kind of interesting because I was in Baltimore County, out in the boonies, in Edgewater, and of course in North Baltimore County, asking to get it because it was faster than what Comcast and Verizon were providing, because they weren't there. They weren't allowed to come out and provide a service. So if you take a look at Verizon DSL, because they also have cell phone towers in your service, they probably still have DSL, and that's basically still internet over copper, and that's already pre-existing technology from back in the AOL days when we used to dial up and get our mail that way.
Oh, the good old AOL days. Blair, do you remember that? Remember those days?
Yeah, I do. I was just going to say, for all the whippersnappers on here, We used to have to plug in our telephone lines into our computers and make sure, nobody is actually on the house phone, on the landline, and then dial in and wait a few minutes to connect to the internet.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is still faster now than what some internet providers are calling, internet. So that's funny that you mentioned that. So we have HughesNet out here as well. We have two options of internet providers out here in our rural communities, and HughesNet is one of them. However, it does not work. For a lot of people, it simply just does not work. We have the mountains up here, and it just blocks the satellite signals. There's not a strong enough connection. But if you're like me, they won't come put a landline in your home either. So you're kind of stuck with whatever you can get. And I find that a huge problem in my communities.
Yeah. I remember because we're both veterans and stuff. I was in the Navy and I was in Virginia Beach at the time when I was serving, and I had to have DSL. And I had to download like 100 megabyte file. So I got off work because I worked night shift. I went to bed. I turned on the internet and went to bed. Around noon, I had the fire department banging on my door because my phone wasn't answering, and I was knocked out completely asleep like I normally am, to find out that the fire department was there to tell me that my dad was in the hospital. Because that's how important, I was doing something for the military to download my training manual so that I could succeed in the military. But my dad was in the hospital and I wasn't getting a phone call or phone service because we were taking up bandwidth in the time that it took to download something. Now everything's over Ethernet or cable, and those are completely different. So it looks like we have a new question that has came in. It's renewables and sustainables and community kind of the activity run through hand in hand. Has anyone considered asking what Amazon AWS and Google can do? Resources left behind by Dominion Chesapeake Energy can be asked to donate for our nation, much in need. So what are your thoughts on that, Blair?
It's definitely possible to talk to these bigger corporations and ask them to aid in these expansions, but it really is going to come down to what's going to be best for the environment and affordability, and also not to be such a long-term program. It could be great if we start doing this. It could bring a lot of jobs to the area because you're going to need technicians to come out and actually implement this infrastructure. So it really could be a win-win situation for everybody.
Good. Little chat box came in and says, do we support Black Lives Matter? I do. But to answer the questions about renewable and consumables at hand, and to talk to Google, and of course, what is it? What was the other part? Amazon. They have an AI and AWS platform, and they actually kind of talk to each other, and then they had to be cut off from the internet. So, a lot of things are part of infrastructure these days. And right now we have problem with sewage. We have problem with fresh water. We have problem with producing power. We need to be able to have a Green New Deal. Bottom line, make sure that we are investing into everything that we need to be able to produce jobs in our communities and replace our infrastructure. That's going to actually make a big difference because we need to be able to fix things like Flint, Michigan, up in the northern part, because down here, like in the southern part of our eastern shore, communities are getting washed away, and that infrastructure that was there is getting corroded and washed away as well. So providing those renewables will also provide jobs and solid state devices for the next generation to come in. So what are your thoughts about that, Blair?
Well, I know everybody out here in Tennessee, including myself, we're very protective over our mountains and our waterways. We want to keep it clean and beautiful for all the generations, ourselves, our children, our children's children, to be able to enjoy. And that means we really have to move to renewable energy and sustainable, and make sure the technologies we're investing in reflect those values. We can look back at plastic. People said, look, we're going to stop tearing down the forest. Plastic is going to be great. And now we're drowning in plastic. We need to make really smart choices and transition into a lot of different sustainable resources, including hemp. We could be replacing all plastic right now with hemp materials. We could be making paper materials with hemp. We can be building houses with hemp, and it's actually mold resistant, fire resistant, naturally pest resistant. It's 10 times stronger than concrete and lasts many years longer. It's a phenomenal resource. And again, that would bring jobs and it would be a big boost in the economy. So there's a lot we can do in the way of resources, but as it ties into internet expansion, they're both just equally important. For people to get educated and understand about these jobs and these technologies, internet would be helpful for them as well too.
I agree. Internet is key, especially for the future farmers out there and the new generation, because the thing is they need the technology to work with the machinery that they're going to be using to grow hemp. You know, we want to make sure that they have that product available so that they can turn a profit, you know, every harvest, you know, and get it turned into everything else that they grow. So out here in Maryland, we mainly grow, like, you know, chicken. You know, we always grow chicken, crabs, and of course, you know, other things like corn and soybeans. So those are some of the biggest things that we take care of, and besides doing the horse racing as well, that our farmers love to do. You know, we have some wonderful golf clubs, but they're closing. They're getting turned into renewable energy sources and megawatt projects because they're, you know, not, how can it, sustainable? That's the key word, you know. And now we have an opportunity to help businesses stay in business by providing them the legal means to decriminalize the product that can help everyone, like you talked about. Give them a home, give them a plastic, give them something to use that will help them. Because I tell you, as a veteran, you know, we have so many people with PTSD, suicidal tendencies, and everything else. And what does a doctor do? They provide some psychotropic, you know, medicine or some opioid in order to ease the pain or suffering or delusions that they might be having because it's a flashback, it's a memory. And me and Richard talked about that before. And I tell you, hemp is a way to go, especially when it's brought down into a CBD oil, which also gives us a future in petroleum products. You know, we can all be all against fossil fuels and how we dig it and pull it up and get coal and natural gas and fracking. Honestly, a byproduct of making hemp is an oil. So let's use it. We got it. It creates energy.
I'm just dumbfounded. I hadn't heard about that, Mia. So I'll have to do my own research and learn a little bit about that. Yeah. Fascinating. Blair, are you familiar with using CBD oil as an energy source? Have you heard of that?
I've seen them make all kinds of products out of hemp, especially. There is a massive amount of products that are capable of coming from hemp and cannabis plants it's a phenomenal resource. The prohibition should have been a long time ago. We could do so much good with it.
Yeah.
Even car batteries. I've seen them working on car batteries made out of hemp as well.
From car seats to car interiors to car airbags to, you know, car tires. You're looking at the future products here that are nearly indestructible and reusable and have a longer lifespan than you expect. And the thing is just like alcohol that was prohibited a long time ago with a constitutional amendment, this one can be striked off the books and decriminalized and put on CVS shelves and, you know, written a script by an over-the-counter doctor or something in order to help you. But, you know, within legal means, if you can get Sudafed and turn that into anything you want, you know, honestly, we can do the same thing with hemp and make it better for people, because turning like Sudafed into whatever you want is horrible, bad for us. And that's how we ended up in this opioid crisis and everything else. And they just don't want to accept it. And we have a doctor in our district who says, you know, it is our problem. And he believes that we should have you know, the police fully in charge, fully militarized, and, you know, go after it and have a war on drugs. And it's really the opposite effect. And this is Monster. It's not an alcoholic drink, but still, you know, this is what they're after. They want to continue a legacy of fighting a war on drugs, and it's a needless war. That's all I have to say about that.
I know we're supposed to be talking about technology and internet expansion, and some of you are probably wondering, how are they talking about hemp and cannabis right now, and I'll tell you why. Because having a lack of resources, and that includes internet expansion to where you can't further your education, or you can't get a working job, or you can't stay at home. All of these things that the internet affects do lead to poverty. And poverty in turn leads to bigger problems such as drug addiction and the opioid crisis. So they're all, again, interconnected. One of these issues are not alone. Internet expansion is going to help people. They're going to do better. They're going to have a better state of mind, better mental health, better resources, better opportunity, and less likely to turn to drugs or even out of boredom out here in the middle of nowhere. So let's open those doors of opportunity and get people the internet that they really deserve.
Yeah, because this really ties into how people also get jobs. Because the thing is I'll tell you this, not many places have on-the-spot jobs hiring anymore. You might run into a McDonald's that might be doing it every Wednesday at 3:30, but literally, do you want to work at McDonald's? I think I would do it. Honestly, I could. I could go work a midnight shift at Royal Farms if I really needed to. But if I needed a good job with healthcare insurance and everything else, I'm told that I have to go online, have an email account, apply, turn in all of my documents online, which means that I have to take time to log in, upload, and then confirm that everything was received, and then wait for a reply, wait to do an interview online, and then go back and then confirm and reply back. So how many times in a week or 2-month process do you have to then go back online or go to a location that has internet so that you can go to a job? A long time ago, you just used to be able to walk in and show up with a tool bag or tool case and get a job, or fill out a piece of paper and get a job, or make a phone call and get a job. Not today. You need internet, and everyone needs internet, no matter where they live. So, if we were able to provide power to the entire nation a long time ago, and then provide telephones to everyone a long time ago, and then somebody had the bright idea to say, let's have a TV in everyone's home, and it was black and white. Then Bill Gates came around and said, oh yeah, everybody has a radio in their house. Everybody should have, a computer in their house. Okay, all right. Steve Jobs came around and says everybody should have an iPhone. Everybody kind of has a cell phone or an iPhone. And now in the future with Amazon and Google, everybody understands that technology is a part of them and that their information is out there and that it's accessible. So they know more about us than we might know about each other. So we need to make sure that that is protected. And this is the other part. We need to make sure our internet is secured and it cannot be tampered with by other countries. So we need to make sure that if we do bring internet out to these rural communities, that they are also protected at home. So we want to make sure that everyone has rural internet, and that's going to be our federal initiative to make sure that it comes to every community and every door, just as it did in the early 20th century for power, radio, TV, telephones, and more. No new questions yet.
The host was on mute. Blair, anything to add?
I just think that it makes sense for everybody to be better educated as a whole. And again, that ties back to having rural internet expansion. Right now, I have people out in Mountain City, which is a very rural community. Luckily, they have a great lady out there who runs Mountain City Women, which is a nonprofit, but she's trying to work to get some grants approved to get hotspot locations at the park, so kids can actually come there to be able to do their work and get online. And that right there just shows you how big of a problem this is that we're having to apply for grants to get hotspots just so, kids and their family can stay connected and continue their education. It's something we should have taken care of, again, a long time ago. And it needs to be treated, like we said before, as a basic utility, just like electricity or water. And unfortunately, a lot of people in my district as well are not connected to the electric grid or have running water. These are massive problems. All of these should be basic needs in the 21st century that everybody should have affordable access to. That is the other side of this, is right now it's not very affordable. I pay over $100 a month for my satellite internet. I can't do the Zoom. I have to go to town. I have to be on the office. We can't stream Netflix. We can't watch movies. We can't load videos. My children can't play games. They can't get online and do their schoolwork. And that's literally the best quality internet that is provided out there. So we need quality, we need accessibility and affordability for everybody.
Absolutely right. So we're going to move on to the trivia portion of our program tonight. So the way we're going to do this is it's going to be Mia versus Blair versus the audience. All right, this is a friendly game of trivia, so there's no pressure here, no pressure at all. It's more educational than it is competitive. So the question is, who's going to take the first question?
This is like Jeopardy. I'll have it for 100.
All right, Mia for 100. So Mia, according to the FCC in 2017, what percentage of people living in rural areas did not have access to minimum speed broadband? And that's defined as, I think, 25 megabit download, 3 megabit upload, compared to 1.7% in urban areas. So
I would have to say it was over 60%, because even I looked at the data, and in my district it was very high. Only about 25 to 30% of the dense urban areas had internet.
Oh, well, I'm going to give you a hint. It's a little bit lower.
Really? Really? Okay. This is for the nation. Okay.
Okay.
Nationally.
Okay. Audience. Is there anybody out in the audience who wants to guess the percent in 2017 of rural area that didn't have access to 25 megabit download or more? Only 1.7 of urban didn't have it. Anybody out there in audience land weighing in?
For the record, audience land, 25 megabits per second is not fast. That is what they're considering a minimum for broadband speed. However, that is not a very good speed. We can do, terabytes now. So talking 25 megabits per second is still fairly slow.
I think Marie has an answer. I'm trying to ask.
You see a 25.
All right, Marie, you can answer, or you can type it in the chat.
She did. She said 25. Marie for 25.
25%?
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to Marie. It's 26.5%. So the audience gets 1.
Okay.
Mia 0, Blair 0, audience 1. All right. Question number 2. We'll give this one to Blair. So households with incomes below $35,000 comprise what percent of households without broadband access?
I would say 60 to 70%, given that I know the wages nationally, most people make more than $15 an hour. So thinking about $35,000 a year, so I'd say I'm going to go with a fair even 50%.
50%.
I'm going to go.
I should have given you the threshold within you need to meet. So yeah, all right, we need some judges here. The judges' decision is final. All right, I'll give it to you. I'm more in the Blair pen, but I'll give it to you. It's 60%, but you said 60 to 70 to start with.
I was thinking 60 to 70 to start with, but trust your guts, guys.
All right. Yeah, I was generous to Blair this time. I won't be just so generous next time. Question number 3, and I'll give this one to the audience. Let's see. All right, audience. How many states have passed laws hindering or banning municipalities from building their own broadband infrastructure to protect the interests of giant telecom companies? So how many states don't allow municipalities to build their own broadband infrastructure? And I'll say plus or minus 3 states.
This is an important one, you guys. So if you're talking about states making it illegal so that you cannot compete, that's a monopoly. And they're controlling the prices, they're controlling the quality, and they're taking away your lacks of options. So that is very clear corruption, in my opinion. And the community should be able to decide what is right for them and what is most affordable and going to be quick and opportunistic for them. So I'm curious, guys, how many states control what you can or cannot do with your internet companies?
All right, we're going to give them just a few more moments to answer, and I have a question from Alex that I'd like to be able to answer. He's from Tabot County, and the first he says, are we on track for potentially voting out Andy? And I have to say yes. By the ballots that have been submitted and mailed out so far, we are 3-1. So please, from October 1st to November 3rd, the ballot boxes are out in our district. Find your voting location and please drop off your ballot so that we can continue to out Andy Harris. All right, I think nobody has answered. I don't see anything else.
No, looks like Marie may have answered again.
Uh-oh.
She said 40.
Okay.
40 is not within 3 of the answer, so I'm going to give it to Mia for the steal.
I'm going to say 12.
Oh, okay, Blair, it's down to you. You have a chance here.
39.
Oh, nobody's going to get this point. This answer. It's 26.
Oh, I was too high.
That was too low.
Hey, that's good though. That's still quite a bit of states who are controlling that network and
Blair
marketing.
was playing the Price is Right, but the wrong way.
That's right. The reverse Price is Right rule. All right, question number 4. I'll give this one to Mia. What is the average starting monthly price for broadband, right? So this is just to get in the door with broadband. What's the minimum that customers have to pay per month?
Like $65.
Oh, I didn't give you a threshold, but it's 60, so I would have said within 5. So yeah. Mia for the win. Okay. Blair, this is a question for you. So how many, it's not quite related to internet, but it's closely related. How many computer monitors does Mia use? And I'll allow you to go within 2.
And 2. Okay, so it's more than 2. Well, I'll say 4.
All right, Mia, the answer?
7. Wow, you used
7
monitors.
Oh, my judges only said 6. I think Mia's stacking the deck here.
Well, okay. I can get my little video camera and show you around. So I have my laptop monitor, the monitor behind the monitor, and then I have 3 for the top deck, and then I have 2 for down here, and then I have this one which is hooked up too that nobody really knows about, because if you watch my very earlier YouTube videos, it's actually hooked up. So I'd be having my guest back there instead of right here, because then I learned how to use things properly.
Oh, man.
Wow.
All right. So after our first round, it's Mia 1, Blair 1, and the audience 1.
Yes.
So it's all knotted up at 1.
Tiebreaker.
Round 2. We're going to go to round 2.
Uh-oh. Hot flashes coming in.
All right. I will give this one to Mia.
Oh, let's give it to the audience first.
Oh, all right, we'll give it to the audience.
Okay.
We can do that. What percentage of rural adults say that access to high-speed internet is a problem in their community? So this is everybody who lives in in rural areas, whether they have internet or not. How many of them say internet is a problem? High-speed internet is a problem in the community. I'll say within 5%. So audience, what do you say?
I would guess this is a higher number. With everybody who I talk to in my district who says they cannot get internet or it's just terrible, I would imagine it's a large percentage.
Marie says 75.
Marie says 75, so it's actually not 75. That's not within 5% of the real answer. Blair, you want to try for the steal?
I'm torn between going higher and lower. 68.
Oh, 68 is also not within 5% of the answer.
44.
Mia, this is yours.
And Chris on the internet says 82, and Lancey says 79 on the internet.
It went higher. I wonder if they're right.
None of them are right. So Mia,
No?
I mean, this is yours to, it's yours to lose.
Oh, so I'm kind of the closest one? Jeez, okay. All right, I guess I'm gonna have to go lower. Let's go with 30.
Oh, nobody wins. It's 58%.
I should have went higher.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody's going higher or
Alright.
lower. 58%.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Looks
Mia,
like
this
we
one
had
goes to
some
you.
questions come in.
Oh
too.
yeah, take those questions.
All right. What is the stance on medical marijuana for therapeutic patients recovering from serious injuries, rather than taking prescription medicine? Honestly, this should probably be a first course of action instead of, it should be a preference for the patient of what they're used to. Like for me, don't give me codeine, give me something different. So for me, I would prefer something different. What would you think about, Blair?
For me, this is a really easy stance for me. I think that marijuana should be completely legalized, not even just medicinally. Though you can look at all the medical benefits, even for terminally ill, for seizures, for PTSD, for eating disorders. And with how the opioid crisis has especially hit our country, and here in East Tennessee and Middle Tennessee, it's been a literal pandemic. If cannabis had already been legalized, you would have had this much better, safer alternative that does not have the same side effects, the addiction rates, or the problems that come with these medications that were pushed on people. And they knew some of these outcomes. They knew what would happen. And it's also, again, it's an affordable, sustainable, better way. And it's unbelievable that we're not already there. The bill is coming up actually in the House, I believe, in another month on legalizing federally. So we'll see what our current Congress and Senate thinks about it.
Yeah, and if you need to support an organization that is going to support this bill, I recommend you look up NORML, called Normal for a reason. So there's a Normal Tennessee and there's a Normal Maryland. Look them up, support them. They normally have a lobby day in Tennessee, in DC. It's normally a 2-3 day event where they have a conference, and then we actually go knock doors and chop off heads of everybody and say, this is what we need, this is what we want. And we have everybody, including senators and other representatives, that go knock on everybody else's doors in order to schedule some time and talk to them. So it is a wonderful event to go to, and I recommend that when it does get publicized, that you join us so that we can get this bill passed and legalized. We're not in the House yet, but if it does come through and it's not passed yet, would you want to be able to co-sponsor with me?
Absolutely. And legalizing cannabis is a great way to boost the economy. There's so much money that'll be involved with this, and entrepreneurship, and people who will be able to again grow, increase their farmlands, and you're just going to see this big boost in health and in the economy. It's going to be fantastic. And the leftover funds can go into education. It could go into dividends back into people's communities, right into their pockets. It's going to be phenomenal when this passes.
I know. Because even here in Maryland, because of this pandemic, one of the biggest things our governor had to deal with was a budget crunch. And our AG basically fought against vetoes and everything else the governor was trying to push on because of the budget. And if he accepted some of the bills that were legalization, things would have been able to been taxed on this wonderful product, for profit for the state, which could have gone to all of these new industries, new manufacturers. As much as we hate Trump and everything else, we could have had a lot of things made in America, and the Democrats would have been completely responsible for it. But guess who would have stole all the credit for it? Republicans. So, now it's going to be our turn. We're going to get elected, and we're going to take the credit for it because we've passed the bill. So we're ready to move forward when you are, Ian.
All right, so we will go into another question. So, Mia. No, okay, I'll give this one to Blair. True or false? So this is going to be a hard one to steal. More low-income rural residents view broadband access as a problem than high-income rural residents.
Okay, so we're talking still rural communities, whether they make a lot of money or don't?
Right. So someone who is low income, do they view broadband as the same level of problem as someone who makes more money?
I would say it's equally a problem because it's not a lack of economic resources to like pay the internet bill. It's a rural problem. So I would say it's equally a problem for both income brackets.
That is correct. Rural internet access is seen as a problem by similar groups regardless of income or education level, i.e. this problem affects everyone. All right, Blair. Well, Blair pulls ahead. Blair 2, Mia 1, audience 1.
Woohoo!
Okay. We'll go back to the
let me
audience.
piggyback on that and kind of explain why. Okay. So I used to do fiber optic cable when I was in the Army, and in order to install that, you had to have what is called availability. And in order for you to do that, you had to install multi-mode fiber optics or the cable in order to get it done. And we're talking $10,000 per mile in order to just get cable installed. So if you and your community can afford to get that installed and lump together money, then maybe your cable provider can come in and install it for you and then charge you a monthly price for what you just paid for. So why did you want internet? To then also pay for it monthly. So that is the availability issue that a lot of folks do face regardless of income. And it is something that, puts a big burden on communities, especially new communities that get built, because oftentimes they are not, provided internet at all once they're built.
I want to piggyback off of that too. Can I? Do I have time? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is really important when we're talking about jobs and growing the economy too. If we want people to graduate from ETSU and actually stay here and invest their education that they're getting from Tennessee, they need to have access to the 21st century jobs. And that means they need to live here. And if they want to live out here, they need to have access to electricity, running water, and internet once again. So when we're out here in these rural communities, some of these companies I've talked to have just said there's just not enough people living out there that they won't do the expansion. So we need to do the expansion if we want more people to actually live here and stay here and work here. Again, it's all interconnected, you guys. Very important.
So let's get it done and move into the next question.
All right, the next question. True or false? This is for the audience. All right, audience, you're going to have to pile in. Some of you say true, some of you say false. We're going to have to make a judgment call. There are fewer broadband providers operating in rural areas than in urban and suburban areas. So, audience, is that true or false? Fewer broadband providers in rural areas than
Shane
urban
says
and suburban.
true.
Shane is correct for the point.
Ooh.
There are fewer.
Okay.
All right. Mia, what percentage of rural adults say they never go online? And that's, I'll give you within 5%.
Well, judging by our population that are also fishing, is this for the nation? I'm gonna ask that question first.
It'll be for the nation, I think, yeah. Rural though, for the nation.
Well, they're probably not included in the census either. So yeah, we'll talk about that here in a sec. Gosh, I'm going to say 31%.
Oh,
darn.
Not 31%. Blair, do you think it's higher or lower?
Yeah, I would guess around like 15, 16%.
So close. Audience.
All right, audience, give us your thoughts. We know it's not going to be anywhere above 30, so between 0 and 30, you can steal the point away from us if you give us the right percentage. No, it's not.
Okay, the question is, I'll repeat the question.
Yeah, repeat
what percentage of rural, I'm sorry, wrong one. What percentage of rural adults say they never go online?
Marie says 10%. And Lacey says 8%, and Megan says 5%.
Wow, I think we might need to go to the Facebook feed. Let's see if anybody else says anything out there.
Well, Lacey from Facebook says 8.
Yeah.
Folks, It's 22. Nobody's won.
Wow.
Oh, Shane was
It's still low, but not quite that low.
Shane was 35, so that was higher than my number. So
almost a quarter of rural residents don't ever go online.
Yeah. So this is a neutral loss for everyone.
No doubt. Mia, you wanted to mention something about
Yes. So the other problem that our rural communities are facing right now is not completing their census. And with the census being cut short, you still need to be able to make sure that you're accounted for. If you've gotten something in your mail about your census, and even if it was from back in April, please pull it out of your mailbox, pull it out of your post box, pull it off your fridge. Go to your local library, your McDonald's, wherever you actually go to get internet, and hop on your laptop, your cell phone, where you have good cell phone connectivity, because that's another issue with our rural communities, and complete your census. It's going to take a little bit of time. There's about 20 pages there plus to complete, and the questions are very annoying to answer, but honestly, if you really want to keep our district the way it is, shaped, gerrymandered, you have an option to change that. And we need you to be a part of that by completing your census. If you want to see our district get remapped, you have two choices. Either not complete it or complete it. But I prefer that you complete it so that you are represented in DC. So I really appreciate if you complete your census here in Maryland and keep us in the lead for the nation, because right now we're at about 68%, and I guarantee you our rural communities are out there not getting it done. And I want to make sure that you get the opportunity to complete your census. Blair.
The census is incredibly important. Like Mia said, it has to do with how many people live in your district to make sure it is broken up correctly and that you have equal representation. If there's a mass growth in the population, your area might need another representative. It also has to do with allocating funds to the different programs within your community. So this is really important. Make sure you're doing the census. Out here, I've seen people come and knock on the doors. If you go to the voting booths, you can usually ask to talk to a census person so they can help you if you have a question, but definitely get out and do your census.
All right. Question for the audience. What percentage of rural Americans have a smartphone? And again, this will be a plus or minus 5%. And the relation here is that smartphones are a pretty common way to access the internet. So what percentage of rural Americans have a smartphone? Question for the audience.
Megan says 75.
So, all right, Megan.
Shane
the answer
says
is not
40.
Okay, it's not 40. I'll give one more audience guess before we take it to before we hand it over to Mia to try for the steal.
Trying to let me win, huh? All right. Marie says
5. No. Okay. All right, Mia. What percentage of Americans have a smartphone?
Americans? Oh gosh.
Rural Americans.
Rural Americans?
Ooh.
Ooh. Well, okay. Facebook steal just came in. It's 90 and then 60. So either of those two work?
I think it's Facebook. I think we gotta give the Facebook crowd a point.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So the audience gets the point for this one. Which one was it?
Which one was right?
The 90 or the 60?
Oh, 60. Sorry, the answer is 65%. So whoever said 60 was correct.
Okay, so Robert,
Wow.
shout out to you. You got the audience the point. Perfect
All
timing.
right.
You had like 14 seconds to spare.
So this is going to be
That's
our
actually
last.
really
Oh, go ahead.
really interesting. So we're looking at least a quarter of rural people who don't have internet access, and then another 35% who don't have cell phones either.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really eye-opening statistic right there.
And to give you an idea, my dad lives out in rural parts of Virginia, and I just upgraded his flip phone to an iPhone 4, and then his iPhone 4 broke, so I gave him an iPhone 7 for his birthday. So happy birthday back to you, Dad, in March.
That it makes a lot of sense. We don't have cell phone coverage where we live, so it makes sense that a lot of people don't even have cell phones. Some people that I know use them because when they go to town, they can check it and get online. But a lot of people don't have the extra funds to pay for a phone bill that they can't even use at their own home.
That is true. So,
Very true.
like, I pay my dad's cell phone bill because, you know, it's
Good daughter.
cheaper on a family plan.
All right, Mia. This is our last question for round 2. So it's a Blair fact.
Uh-oh.
So what causes Blair to often lose internet at home? A, rain. B, wind. C, clouds. D, frowning gods. Or E, all of the above.
Well, knowing that I used to have DirecTV, it was always rain. Cloud would only slow it down. So it'd definitely be rain, because I remember watching my old TV and then it just completely cut out. So rain it is. You would lose everything
your final
with
answer?
rain. Yes.
Blair?
I hate to break it to you. A breeze could blow and my internet will not work. And we have had jokes while I'm running a congressional campaign that my internet, I'd be better off with tin cans and string. Sometimes I have had multiple minute delays with my satellite internet. They're asking me a question because they think I didn't even hear the last question or I couldn't even answer it. So they're on the next one while I'm trying to answer it. There's literally minutes in between sometimes.
That's
and
how I was
it could
overseas in Japan and other places I can talk about. But I can easily say Iraq and Afghanistan. I just can't say the other places I were. But yes, I completely understand that 1 to 2 minute delay. Yeah, I'm surprised by the wind.
Yes, it could. I can send them a message sometimes. Sometimes it won't even send a message out to say, hey, it's windy, I can't get on. Or there's a cloud going by, you're going to have to give me a few minutes until it's out of the way. It's very interesting. And these are real struggles that people are facing. And we have the technology. It's the 21st century. Let's get serious. Let's get people the internet they need, list it as a basic utility, and open the door of opportunity. I want to see people thrive. And we can do that.
Yeah, because when I lived out in Tennessee, I was at a place called Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And the thing is like when I had my satellite internet, I took it and deployed with it as well. And the thing is like you had to have it hooked up to a cell phone or a landline. So all your data went upstream through your data connection on a landline device, and then your downstream would be through the satellite. So that's how I completed the cycle in order to communicate with the satellite. Now it's going back and forth through the satellite. Is that how yours is now, where everything goes back and forth through the satellite, or do you still have to like go through a wire and then send upstream to the satellite and then come back down?
There's no hardwire connection. They won't put a landline in. So it's complete satellite dish, just has to go all the way up and come all the way back.
Okay. So that's a whole 180 milliseconds to 240 milliseconds. And then if you get that breeze, it's 540 milliseconds, and then you're choppy. Okay. All right. Let's do 2 more questions, and then we are going to have to close it up for the night with outros and donation ask.
Well, Mia, before we go to the questions, I just want to give folks the score of after the second and final round, so we can see who won. So after the second and final round, it's Team Facebook 1, Zoom audience 2, Blair 2, and Mia 2. So at risk of being considered a participation trophy culture, you are all winners.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us and making sure that it was a super success.
Yeah, I hope you guys all learned a little bit, whether it was about legalizing cannabis or why internet is so important to families and jobs out here and all across this country. It's a phenomenal time to be alive. We have some amazing technology and we really need to move forward with it. So thank you guys for being here, for listening, and for answering some questions.
That is awesome, because one of the best things about our future of us being in Congress is making sure that these bills get passed when it comes to the renewable, the sustainability, and what we are actually going to be able to provide for our communities, the jobs and the opportunities for our children to be able to go to school and have the technology there that they need to be able to learn from in the future. So definitely take a look at the bottom of your screen for those who are watching us on the Facebook, the Twitter, and the current technology that you're currently watching us on, and donate to our websites and find us on social media at our handles below. So definitely, you know, 5, 10, 25, $100 donation goes a long way. For me, it really helps me support us by getting out the mail and getting us into our ads for this Get Out the Vote phase, because we are, instead of knocking on doors, we are mailing folks, and we are also calling folks. So, you know, it's just the way that this virtual world is working. And the folks without internet, we are definitely making sure that we are able to go put something on their door and in their mailbox before they go vote from October 1st to November 3rd. So you get the last word, Blair.
Yeah, absolutely. Mia said it right there. There's what we learned tonight is 35% of our rural areas don't have a cell phone to watch this or listen or learn about our campaigns. And almost a quarter of our rural nation doesn't have internet access at all. We still need to reach these people and let them know that the door of opportunity is opening. They have candidates who care about the issues that they're facing, who want to strengthen families and jobs, and they need to be aware of that. Campaigning is expensive, unfortunately, and me and I are both grassroots candidates. We do not accept any corporate PAC money. We're fully funded by the people the way that it should be. So we need you guys to make donations. Every little bit counts. If you're able to contribute, please do. It would be immensely helpful to both of us to get out the vote and let people know that we're here and we care and we're going to make a difference for our communities. So thank you all again for coming tonight. This was actually really fun. I hope you guys learned some cool facts, and we'll see you guys coming up soon. Don't forget to vote.
Awesome. Thank you, and ensure that you vote. Bye, everybody, and thank you, and have a great night.